In April 1912, police raided this man's studio in a small Austrian town. They confiscated over 100 drawings and called them obscene. A judge convicted him and burned one of his own paintings in open court right in front of him. He was 22 years old. 6 years later, the same artist would have the most celebrated exhibition of his career, right before he vanished from Vienna almost overnight. This is Egon Schiele, told entirely through the paintings that nearly destroyed him, and the ones that finally redeemed him. Egon Schiele was born in 1890 in the small Danube town of Tulln, the son of a station master. It was an orderly, respectable life, until his father's mind began to unravel, eaten away by an illness the family never named out loud. He died when Egon was 15. What followed were years of quiet, obedient landscape studies at the Vienna Academy, careful sketches of melons, gardens, riverbanks. Nothing like the artist he would become. The only adult left to guide him was his uncle, Leopold Cihacek, who paid for his schooling and despised his ambition to paint for a living. Schiele painted him anyway, stiff, formal, staring straight through the canvas. It was the first sign of a pattern that would follow him his whole life, turning the people who doubted him into the subjects of his art. In 1907, Schiele tracked down Gustav Klimt, Vienna's most celebrated painter, and asked for an honest opinion of his work. Klimt told him he had too much talent. It changed everything. Schiele abandoned the obedient style of the academy and began painting bodies the way no one in Vienna had dared. Twisted, raw, stripped of decoration, staring out with an almost unbearable intensity. By 1910, at just 20 years old, he turned the focus back on himself completely. Dozens of self-portraits, contorted and naked, examining his own body like a specimen under glass. Critics called it ugly. Schiele called it honest. Either way, Vienna had never seen anything like it. In 1911, Schiele met Walburga Neusiedl, Wally, a former model of Klimt's who became his lover, his collaborator, and the subject of some of his most tender work. Looking for cheap rent and willing models, the two moved to the small town of Neulengbach. The locals were not pleased. Schiele's nude models and unconventional household scandalized his neighbors. And in April 1912, a teenage runaway who'd briefly sheltered in his studio gave them the excuse they needed. He was arrested, his drawings seized as evidence, and jailed for over 3 weeks awaiting trial. The original charge against him didn't hold up in court, but a judge still convicted him on a lesser one, for exhibiting erotic drawings where a child might see them, and, in a final piece of theater, burned one of his paintings in the courtroom. Schiele turned his cell into a studio anyway, filling a prison diary with self-portraits, one of them titled simply, "Hindering the Artist is a Crime. It is murdering life in the bud." By 1914, the scandal hadn't destroyed Schiele's career. It had, strangely, fed it. His work grew more refined and more in demand. But the woman who'd stayed by his side through the riskiest years of his life wasn't the one he chose to marry. In 1915, Schiele proposed to Edith Harms, a respectable young woman from a proper family, and ended things with Wally for good. That same year, he painted Death and the Maiden, a man and woman locked in an embrace that looks more like a goodbye. Many art historians read it as Wally's farewell, painted by the man who was leaving her. 4 days after his wedding, Schiele was drafted into the war. The war years, oddly, were good to him. Guarding Russian prisoners gave him hours of free time and willing, captive subjects. By 1918, Schiele was no longer the scandal of Vienna. He was its rising star. His paintings filled the city's biggest exhibition that spring and sold out almost immediately, right as his old mentor, Gustav Klimt, passed away. Schiele was finally about to inherit the place Klimt had once held. Then, that autumn, the Spanish flu reached Vienna. Edith, 6 months pregnant, died on October 28th. Schiele, already infected himself, painted her one last time from his sickbed. 3 days later, at 28 years old, he was dead too, leaving behind the family. a portrait of the wife and unborn child he never got to meet. Egon Schiele lived only 28 years, and for most of them, Vienna treated him as a scandal rather than an artist. Today, his raw, unflinching paintings are some of the most studied works of the 20th century. Proof that the things that get an artist condemned in their own time are often exactly what makes them unforgettable in the next. If you want more forgotten masters brought back to life, subscribe. There's another one coming soon.